Hello, is anybody out there? I'm super excited because I have some ideas, and when I get ideas, I go crazy. First, I want to jump on here real quick and say huge high five, virtual high five to one of our newish members, Heike. So she had posted her ad she was making, and it was all about how. Everything she was using to sell her photography was facts, stuff that goes on your facts page on your website. So I'm excited because with just a few tips, she crushed it in redoing her little ad for her photography business. So she had flyers that she was going to make, and everything on there is what I see constantly. It's 20 minutes, it's 10 digitals, it's $100. That's not a reason anyone's going to hire you. None of those things. So I'm super, super proud of Heike this week for taking my notes and crushing it, redoing her ad. It was amazing. I'm so proud of her. So honestly, that's so cool. So what's cool is I've talked about it in other videos, and I'm not going to harp on it too much in this one because I have a different thing I want to get you, especially photographers, fired up about on this video. So anyway, what she did was she took it from you get 5 digitals for 20 minutes and 2 outfit changes and all this BS that I see constantly in other Facebook groups, constantly. So anyway, what she did is she turned it into, I gave her a couple tips of get all that stuff is on the contracts, basically. It goes in your contract, it goes in the facts page, it's like a how. So get rid of that stuff. So what she did, and she crushed it, it's why are they getting photos taken? Why should they get photos taken from you? What is it that you're actually doing for them longer term? And go back if you missed it and look at her post and her before and after of her ad, because she crushed it without even needing real one-on-one coaching from me. So I'm super excited. That to me is our huge win for all of us this week. It's super exciting. And I'm going to wait just a second to tell you what this video is really about because I'm super excited. I've got some cool new ideas that I kind of wish I'd thought of 2 years ago. And it's super exciting. Basically, several things. One is there's a hint about it. Christina is a photographer in Toronto area. She posted earlier this week about what, how to price for bloggers that want you to do regular photo shoots with them for their Instagram. Amazing, right? So the way I look at that, just to answer that question directly, is that I would do it as a bundled thing. So whereas with my portrait clients, they're hiring me every 10 years. So I need to get the most amount of money out of them in 10 years as I can. And then they know it's an investment the next time they need to get professional photos taken. And so, a lot of other groups, it's they should just have photos for every day of their life and it should be $200. Well, I don't agree. I'm a big fan of this is an investment in your family and in your heirlooms and all that kind of stuff. And so it's a big chunk of money that you're only paying once every 10 years. So anyway, Christina brought up a good point though, is that now everybody's on Instagram and everybody's a blogger and everybody's got a little side hustle and everybody's selling stuff on Etsy. All of those people need photos and they don't know what they're doing and they're super stressed out with their photos. They buy a camera and they think a better camera is going to help them. So that is an untapped market for all of us. Okay, so I'm going to really quickly backtrack. Mindy, I'm going to answer your question. So one of the things that we talked about with her ad is go back and look at that last week. So Heike had put in her ad and wanted a critique on it, and I was very honest. I mean, for those of you who've been in my group for long enough, you know that I'm very honest in this particular group because it's my group. I try to hold back in some other people's groups. But the thing is, she had put on her ad just how, all the stuff about logistics and things that need to go just on a contract. It's not important. It's not what's going to get somebody to hire you. What she switched it to is what she's solving for the customer. The transformation the customer goes through. Why is the customer even hiring you as a photographer? They want to look thinner. You got to tap into their mindset and their fears even. What are they afraid of? And that's what you want to address on the ad. Have you ever had a great photo taken of you? No? Call me. Think about stuff that's totally the reason people don't want to be in front of the camera is because they don't know that you're going to make them look hot and younger than they really are, right? That's something to talk about for moms, a Mother's Day thing. It's capture how beautiful you are at this age with these kids so that when these kids are 30, they have these beautiful pictures of you at this age. Figure out a better way to say it than that, but I honestly say it like that to my clients. I make them get in the photos because I'm like, you're never going to be as young and as hot as you are today, and your kids aren't going to remember you at 30 and at 40. Like, they're going to only remember you at 60 and 70. So you have to like switch it up. Instead of like 5 digitals for $200, like they don't really care. What they care about is what they're getting out of it at the end and how it's going to make them feel to be surrounded by these beautiful images of their happy family in their house. So that's what I had her go through that transition, and she crushed it with those notes, and I'm super proud of her. Okay, so getting back to my other point of untapped markets. And again, all of you girls that are watching are in other groups with me, right? So everything I see in there is 50 digitals for $5. Like, I mean, it's just ridiculous. So, and everyone's doing these mini sessions thinking that's what's going to bring in people. That's not what, people don't care. They don't care about the price, really. Even though I'm a pricing coach and I love helping people get their pricing situated, it's not really the problem. It's not even your problem of getting clients, is not your price. The real problem is you haven't spoken to them in their language, which is why I talked about what Heike just did. And 2, you need to do something that other people aren't doing, right? Throw a stone 5 feet from you and you're gonna hit another photographer. There's so many photographers, and guess what? They're all wedding photographers, portrait photographers. But there's so many other people out there that need photos taken. So many. Go after them. Like, for example, YouTube. Like, I coached a videographer who was getting started, and she wanted to become a wedding photographer. But then I found out she had all this video experience. I'm like, oh my God, like, no, we don't need any more wedding photographers in this world. Go help, like, because I have a YouTube channel, I'm like, please go after the YouTube market. I need an intro video for my YouTube channel. Like, that is the one thing I can't do myself. I can put on my phone and do my YouTube videos with decent lighting and they're fine. But what I need is someone to capture like me on my YouTube trailer. So there's an untapped market that 0 people are thinking about. That's what I want you to think about. And that's where, if you do that kind of stuff and that kind of thinking, that's how price does not matter. So as much as I love showing you how to set your prices, and that's what I'm like, that's my jam, it's bigger than that. You need clients to actually pay it. And one way to get clients is that you zig when everybody else is zagging. So right now it's all about Mother's Day minis. Well, guess what? Those moms are getting 10 ads all day on Facebook about Mother's Day minis. And first of all, most of them are going to be boring, and they're just going to show like a high school senior photo with a Mother's Day ad. Like, people aren't thinking about the photo they're attaching to their ad. They're not thinking about the problems like we were talking about with Heike's ad, right? So another thing, and this is my like main point of this video, is like what Christina was talking about is bloggers. Like, go on Instagram, you know, and advertise that you will help them with, especially if you have a studio or something, that's even easier. I'm super jazzed right now. As you can tell, I'm talking really, really fast. So the thing is, I just got off a call with like 4 ladies, and all 4 of them at the end of our like call, we're in like a workshop together. Every single one of them wanted to extend the call because they needed to pick my brain as a photographer. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I kind of had known I needed to do a live this week with you guys, but whatever. I was like, okay, I can. And what they wanted to know is how in the heck could they hire a photographer? They were having a hard time finding a photographer for what they needed. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this world is swimming with photographers. There's too many photographers. And how are these women not finding a photographer? The reason these women are not finding a photographer and don't know where to look is because everyone's a wedding photographer, everybody's a portrait photographer, everybody's a senior photographer, and what these girls need is something else altogether. It's a completely untapped market, which is why I was super excited to hop on here today. They are all building their brand. It's a personal brand for them. They're online coaches, online therapists, career coaches. One of them is an email marketer person that you can hire to like help you sort out all your email marketing crap to like she'll write your newsletter, she'll write your email autoresponders. Like, it's amazing. Problem these girls had finding a photographer is they were finding photographers that had gone too into their niche. They were like, well, I found a senior photographer, or I saw one that's a newborn photographer, but are those people going to be able to capture what I need for my website? What the heck is it going to cost? Like, they had just so many questions. They were like, how do I do it myself? Should I get hair and makeup done? So I was able to answer all these questions, and it gave me like a million things now for my YouTube video to answer individually, because it was like 10 things they asked me. But the biggest thing is they didn't know how to find a photographer to capture photos for their websites. That's a whole market that started probably 4 years ago. And if you're broke right now in the winter, because between Christmas, we just did all the family photos and wedding season's not really kicking up yet, go after personal branding jobs. Reach out to the cool new brewery and see if they need help with their Instagram page. Go after the cool Instagram drool-worthy coffee shop and see if you can go in, monthly and take all of their Instagram photos. And I'll give you homework for if you like that idea, go to Joe Bean Coffee Roasters. They're a coffee shop in town. I could tell that they switched over to a professional, but it was super subtle because they found the right photographer for them. I'm really closely good friends with the owner, and I wasn't offended that she didn't hire me because she nailed it with the person that she hired. They look like these photos have been taken of the latte that day in the store, but they do it once a month. They go in with an agenda and a marketing plan with the owner, and it's on brand and it looks perfect, and then they post them all throughout the whole month, and it looks like it's in the moment photography. It's amazing. That is a whole niche 0 people are going after. Susanna, what are you talking about? Niching? Yeah, no, I am talking about the opposite. That's always what I do. I always like to bust what everybody else is saying. It is important to niche. So it's important to niche. I'll talk about that for a real quick second. Niching is important, but if you want to pivot, or if you want to add more things, you have to open that up a little. So for example, I'm a wedding photographer first, and a portrait photographer second, and a commercial photographer third. And the commercial photography is actually how I ended up getting into coaching. Because a lot of my clients ran a business and then they'd want help with like Instagram and all these different things, like just how to do it. And then I realized like, oh, I know a lot of business shit. And I've helped wedding photographers over the years, like friends, do stuff. So the coaching actually ironically came out of the commercial photography end of things. But when I meet people, I'm a wedding photographer. And the reason I am a wedding photographer as far as like niching down is that that's what I'm best at. Like, honestly, my portraits aren't that great. Don't tell my clients. But like, I'm just not as good at them. I thrive under pressure at a wedding. I love chasing people. I just love the chaos of it. I love trying to get a cool shot while running and light it perfectly. Like, that's really fun for me. Portraits, I personally just don't enjoy like posing people, and like, especially studio photography, like kill me. And so that's one reason I've never gone after the branding stuff, the personal branding photography, because I have done a few of those over the years with my commercial clients, but it's just like, I need the energy of like the whole room of like a wedding and stuff. Like, I just don't get as inspired one-on-one or two-on-one. And that's just me. So my niche is that I'm a wedding photographer. I would say that I'm equally passionate about being a coach. Like, now that I've spent the last 2 years really doing more of that and having regular clients. So you can broaden it up, and now I have 2 strong niches, a wedding photography, and I'll do occasional portraits and stuff. And then the coaching obviously is my other niche, which is totally separate, right? So yeah, so you're saying that you're trying studio stuff for your day job and it's not lighting your fire. You've got to go after where are you actually good at, and what do you love doing, and just be honest about those things. The irony about weddings for me, not to get into my story too much, but like, the irony is that I actually not married and I don't really care about weddings. I think they're a huge waste of money. But that's just me. And so I didn't do them for a really long time because I just didn't think I would enjoy that. Like, why would I want to be at a wedding? I don't even want to get married. Like, that was my limiting belief and fear holding me back. But I didn't think through how much I love that kind of photography. You know, I love just being around the chaos and managing all the personalities and like bossing people around and getting cool photos in shitty locations. Like, all that stuff as a photographer is what's fun. So anyway, that talks about niching. So let me know if that clarified that I'm like how I'm being opposite of what you've been told, but it really does tie together. But my point is, like, if you want to go after an untapped market and do a Facebook ad because you need business in January, go after a whole new market, go after a whole new niche, go after something that you want to try and do. Like, sometimes I think I want to do newborns. I know, I'm terrible, a waste of money. I know, I'm so bad. But that's also why I'm like, well, if they're going to waste all this money on favors and centerpieces, like, and a $600 veil that's a giant roll of tulle, then they should be spending it on me because I'm actually going to enhance their marriage. And I'll actually stick around after their marriage, my photos. Yeah, I know, I'm terrible. I'm so crass about it. But it's real. That's the way I feel. Okay, so getting back into personal branding photography. And you could do the same thing with I don't think I have many graphic designers in here, but like, you know, same thing. Go after like homemade, like beautiful stationery and logos and design for all these new bloggers and all these new influencers and people with a YouTube channel. Like, there are a gazillion different niches in the online world now. There's courses, there's webinar, like there's a million different ways to make money online. And all of those people need help with photography, graphic design, everything. You could do a one-stop shop for them. Like, you could design their graphics for their webinar or their ebook or their book. I mean, you could help them with all that stuff, and you can take their photos. So you'd price it twice, right? You'd price them as a graphic designer and as a photographer, so your price would go up. Don't just give them both of them, okay? What did you say about the baby? Let me look at that. Oh yeah, baby niece crazy, that's for sure. That is that's 100% what it is. Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what it is. Plus, I have newborn clients that are paying me good money for what I'm doing. So I also follow the money. I mean, really, like, who's going to pay me? Okay, that's where I'm going to go. And so that's one of the reasons I was excited when I got off that call is here's 4 women who are trying to find a photographer for their new brand that they're building. And they can't find one because they don't know what to Google, and then they get scared away by like newborn photographers and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. So if you're looking for stuff to do, especially in the wintertime when it's tough, that's what I would recommend. I would go after all of the influencers, all the Instagrammers, the new bloggers, like go infiltrate those groups and find people who need that, or target specifically to them with Facebook ads. So instead of doing yet another Mother's Day mini session, like fucking every other photographer on the fucking planet right now, excuse my language, you can tell I'm a little fired up about this, which fired up about everything all the time anyway. But like, go after this whole other market, and those people will spend money because it's for their business. Like, that's the thing. Like, they have no problem hiring a mentor and taking courses and really like going through the motions there. So why wouldn't they pay for a photographer too? They should, you know, like it will elevate their brand. I always feel that way about bands. I don't know why they don't spend money. Did I offer myself? Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So see what did you say? Portraits pay the bills, but you love the whole package of branding. Yeah. Oh my gosh. If you bring web stuff in, oh my gosh. Yeah. Put those two together. Oh my gosh. Seriously. Like, why do high school seniors do that? You know, like, not that you shouldn't offer some seniors, but if you can do branding, website design, the photography, if you can do all 3 of those things, you are a one-stop shop. That's amazing. Like, you could hire help to like help you. You could build a business where you offer one-stop shop branding for them. There's so many things that they need branding for. I mean, like I said, their webinar graphics, you know, you could do templates for that. You could do their cover for their webinar or their ebook that they're giving out. You could do their website. You could do photography for their website. You could do their color palette. Like, you could knock all that stuff out, one-stop shop. That's a good, it's a booming market right now. I mean, it's the next trend as far as like oversaturation is, you know, that market. And I'm one of them. I mean, like, I'll be honest, I'm one of them. And that's why I like doing, so we'll get back into niching because Susanna, you're still watching. So let's talk about niching. So, you know, one of the things I've always loved about being a wedding photographer is the wedding album. And it's one of the reasons I get so feisty about the digital files, because I've seen the power of having a wedding album as a tangible thing after the wedding, especially with weddings. Portraits I care a little less about, digitals versus products. Anyway, to get back to the wedding album thing, when I thought about coaching and teaching, and you know, the last 10 years I've been teaching classes on the side to photographers in person and stuff. And I've always taught about albums because it's what I'm most passionate about. And so I went through the effort of like niching down. What I found was like no one was really asking questions about albums. I thought everyone needed to learn how to do albums, and that's why they were giving out digital files. And so I had niched down and I was like, okay, I'll be the album person. But there's not really anyone asking about it. So that's hard, right? So how do I get my album course in there in front of them? And this ties both the two things together. Okay, so the thing is then when you're in these Facebook groups, you know, most of us are in Facebook groups of things we want to know about, like, you know, posing newborns or whatever. But if you go into other Facebook groups where your clients hang out, that's how you find clients. You can also, if you want to do Facebook ads, you could specifically target people that are following Amy Porterfield or, you know, like any of the influencers, any of the big name coaching coaches. Go find those groups that they run, get in those groups, and you can also use Facebook ads to target those people that like all those groups. That's how you're going to find your people who need personal branding. You can also just like look and see who has shitty branding and reach out to them. You know, like, you know, it doesn't hurt as long as you're like nice about it, you know, like, hey, I'd love to help you. I've got some time in my schedule, blah, 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 right? So go and hang out in less groups for you and more groups where your clients are. If you want to find moms for your mini sessions, go into a mommy group in your area, like whatever city you are, mommy group. Or my sister, who just had a kid, which we were talking about, Susanna keeps trolling me about my niece, my beautiful new niece. My sister is in a mom group for athletic trainers. Like there's groups for everything. And that talk about a niche, right? Like athletic trainers, and because it's a really tough job and they're all in there to like talk about how the hell they deal with their crazy, crazy job and being a mom. Like it's so much easier for a dude to be an athletic trainer because their schedule's crazy. So there's a group for that. So if I wanted to go after sporty women who, you know, like there's a group for me right there. Like, let me go find these sporty moms, like that are athletic trainer moms. Like go again in those groups, right? So yeah, I understand the advertising, but you'll see in all the groups I'm in, I don't actually ever advertise. I get a little feisty in that I'll share my blog posts, I share YouTube videos, but I literally am only doing that to help move that conversation along, maybe open up somebody's eyes to what the conversation's about, give them a different perspective. I've never really advertised. I don't advertise in those groups. And advertising in general, which is why everyone in those groups is complaining about their Facebook ads, it doesn't work. You can't put out an ad saying, oh, I'll do 15 minutes for 5 digitals for $50 to a cold audience. Like nobody cares. They don't know you. They don't know that you're going to be able to deliver. Like even if it's cheap, especially if it's cheap, like your pricing is marketing too, right? So like all that stuff is marketing. You got to build a rapport with those people. So you would want to get into a mom group like Susanna lives like where? Japan, right? Like you could do an expat mom group, like, you know, something like specifically for like English speakers in Japan. Like there's got to be like cool groups like that. You go hang out in there. Yeah, you don't have to be too nervous about that, Susanna. Go do it, but only when it's appropriate. Like you don't want to be pushy. And I'm kind of peeling back the curtain here on how I even met all of you. But I'm hoping it helps you figure out like how you can just stop competing with everybody else because you think about things a little differently, right? Oh, Australia, that's right. Sorry, I knew it was that time zone though. Australia is even better. but you get the idea, right? Like, so that's a niche, right? So you go into some of these groups, if they're run by American companies, then you're not going to find photography clients in Australia. So you do have to think that stuff through a little bit. But just, it's a matter of just like helping people, like answer questions, chime in when you can. A lot of times, like my sister in that athletic trainer mom group, she sends me the screenshots of like people in that group are making fun of the $50 15-minute minis. Like, the moms make fun of these things. They see these all day long and they know it's a scam. They know it's a new photographer. They know it, you know, like my sister sent me some of these things, and it's why I get so pissed at when I see it in groups that other photographers are encouraging this. Yeah, healthy mom group. Oh my gosh, perfect, Mindy. That's perfect. Because guess what? You're going to run into, in a healthy moms group, you're going to run into moms who are complaining that they want to lose weight for an upcoming photo shoot. Or you're going to, like, all this mental stuff that goes in with, like, being healthy. You're going to be able to, like, find people talking about stuff like, what do I wear? And how do I prep for this? Or, you know, whatever. And you can just start, like, giving your opinion as a photographer. And then eventually what happens is occasionally, and this is the key, you have to be very delicate about it and really be in there to help people in their own photography journey of finding a photographer. But occasionally someone will post like, hey, does anyone know where I can find a photographer wherever? So it's a little harder to be in these groups as an in-person locational business. But for example, I live in Rochester, and there's a Rochester wedding swap. There's a Rochester wedding planning group. They end up being low-end brides, but you know, that would be where you could post your mini session for babies, because they probably have a baby right after that, and then they'll remember you, and it gets to name recognition and all that kind of stuff, right? So, no, Susanna, they won't ban you for sharing it as long as you're not doing it every 5 minutes, and it's, hey, buy my thing, hey, look at me. As long as you're helping them and you're really authentic about it, because it's really, that's the key, is you need to be authentic about it. So for example, I'm in those groups for photographers, and I really only chime in on the pricing ones. And I really only share my blog posts on YouTube when like they're not getting it, or they're getting like a lot of random feedback that I just don't think is gonna help them. Like I think that's how I really met Mindy's. Like we had a lot of back and forths in this one thread. It's like, well, there's a lot of misinformation in these groups that's not helpful, you know? So I'll share that stuff when it like clarifies something. And I try not, I would never go in there all by myself and be like, hey, look at my new blog post. Like that I think is tacky. I could probably get away with it, but I personally wouldn't want that from in this group, you know? So I treat other people's groups how I want to be treated, right? Yeah, so you could do that, Susanna. Hey, look at me, I wrote something. I thought you might want to read it. If it's like what I was saying earlier about like in a mom healthy group like Mindy is in, of like, hey, here's how to look good in pictures for your upcoming Christmas cards. Like, and put that in there in August. Drink extra water, wear something flattering, like do a top 10 list blog post. Then I think it's appropriate. But that's where I pick my battles. I don't answer, you know, a lot of the posts on all kinds of random crap that I'm not an expert on really, or I don't care. I try to go in with the pricing questions because that's what I love talking about. And if I can find anybody talking about albums and tangible stuff, I will definitely chime in on those because I love those. And it gets back to what we were saying about niching earlier. I was telling that story before I got on a different tangent, which happens, is that I originally thought my niche would be teaching photographers how to do albums and wall art and that sort of stuff, because that's what I love. But what I found when I was searching for those questions and those clients, what I found was really pricing was the problem. Like pricing's what most people bring in. So it gets back to, you can be a high school senior photographer as a niche, but if you can pose one person by themselves, you can also pose an influencer by themselves. So then you could bridge the gap, show both, talk about both, talk about talk about it on a blog post. Photographing as a high school senior is very similar than capturing a personal branding because it's one person in the photo. I don't have a crutch of like a bride and groom. I mean, you could go down a rabbit hole, a blog post about why being a high school senior photographer qualifies you to, and you wouldn't say qualifies to, but like you can connect those dots. What's great is when you can get people in the group recommending you. That's great. So there, that Rochester wedding swap that I was talking about, or not the swap, but the wedding planning one, there is this one photographer who's in there all day, every day, commenting and everything. You need a cake baker? She's always commenting, right? But she's a photographer. But she's like, as a photographer, I recommend this bakery. As a photographer, I recommend this florist. And she's answering these questions to these other questions that are not photography. And it's name recognition. And other people planning their weddings are seeing this. And then all of her clients are now, because she gets a lot of clients out of this group, all her clients are in this group after they get married. And when the next time somebody posts about needing a photographer, she's got 4 people commenting with her information, plus people have seen her name in the group. Go ahead. I think there's a way for you to say after this video that to be notified when I'm live. It'll beep, but you'll get a Facebook notification when I do go live. And because I love having the interaction and I love having the real questions. So I do appreciate it when you guys are all here. And so I'll go live sometime next week. So if you have any questions in the group, I'll either throw you in the hot seat like I'm doing kind of today, or if I have an inspired idea like this personal branding stuff, I just feel like that's a market no one's going after. And if you want to be the only photographer in your town doing it, get started now before other people figure it out. Okay, awesome. So good to see you guys. I'm like super proud of all of you. You're crushing it. Don't hesitate to come in here into this group and leave comments, talk to each other. If you want to practice going Facebook Live, knock yourself out, keep it to 60 seconds. Maybe I'll do like a challenge, make you guys all do it, because I think it's something you should bring to your Facebook page on your own. And that's it for today. All right, bye.